Hello, everyone. This is Heartlines, our space where we discuss everything relationship and love. I am your host, Jacinta Powell, and tonight we're talking about the fear and pressure of choosing the wrong partner. And I hope I'm correct with that. Yes, the role of fear and pressure in choosing the wrong partner. Tonight I have with me Chente Okoli. Hi, Chente. Hello, Chente, can
Hi,
you hear me?
it's always good to be here as usual, and I'm excited to be here today. Thank you
Yeah?
very much. Yeah,
Lovely.
thank
We're
you.
we're supposed to also have Shay Ilesami, but maybe he'll come in a few minutes. So, Chente, tell me, how was your weekend? Of course, don't tell me you didn't have any ram
Hmm.
this Salah
Actually,
break.
I didn't have any RAM.
Really?
I didn't, but I went on a date today and
No
excited. Yes,
way.
yes. So
Really?
that was, in fact, I was looking forward to it all weekend, right? I've been looking forward to it all weekend, and then, so this is my highlight for for today, and I'm
Chente,
excited.
do you want to tell us or do you want to tell me later
No,
after the
now,
show?
no, I don't like to give you a hint now. No, now.
Lovely. Lovely to
When
see you as
when
always.
when there's a ring, I'll announce it.
All the way to ring. Chente,
Fast,
oh my
fast, no,
goodness.
fast, fast. We don't used to waste time here.
Really? Chente, wait, don't tell me you're going all the way from being a virgin to straight to marriage. What's going on? Tell me.
Immediately, immediately, like there's no jokes.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Chente. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you very much. Thank
So
you.
before we dive into the topic for today, please note that you can share your story with us via this WhatsApp line 081 To join the conversation live, you can call us on 070 or 070 1424 2420. So, Chente, today we're talking about the fear and pressure in choosing the wrong partner. Before I don't want to expatiate, so I just want to hear what do you think. What do you think this topic is about? What do you think it's. What does he?
Okay.
What do you feel it's trying to portray here?
So, I'm trying to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if it was spelled as the fear and pressure in choosing the right partner, it would have made so much sense. So I'm trying to know whether it's the same thing. Could you help me understand, this topic better?
Okay, so what I would say is, when we are choosing a partner, I think that
Mm-hmm.
we have some sort of fear as human beings. It
Yeah.
could be the fear of being alone.
Okay.
It could be. So the idea is, how does fear and pressure lead you into choosing a partner, and then most of the time
Oh,
you
I
choose the wrong
see.
partner?
I see.
Yeah. So
I
we have the
see.
fear of aging, the fear of aren't you a woman, your time is going, or aren't you a man, aren't you mature enough? Our peer groups, our friends are getting married, and
Okay, okay,
nothing is
okay.
happening to us. And then the pressure when it
Yeah.
comes to society and so much more. So how does
Okay,
this
okay.
influence your choice when you're making a decision towards marriage?
So yes, I actually think now I get the full picture. Thank you for explaining, right? And so yes, I actually think that, in fact, pressure, as I would say, is one of the killers of joy, right? Because when you are moved in or when you are pushed prematurely, you sometimes end up doing the wrong things, or you end up doing the things that would possibly come back and haunt you later, right? And I think that for a lot, in fact, if we're talking about this now, I know that the men also face, pressure, right? But I think when we are looking at the society, I would say that this sometimes tends towards the women, right? And how, as a woman, some of the times people are already looking forward to immediately you graduate, you should be married, or the next thing. In fact, when I was leaving school, right, as a man, the idea was, how do I better my life, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
I, push for my career? How do I, what is next for me out
Mm-hmm.
there? That is what came to my mind, right? But a lot of my classmates, a lot of them, the mentality was, oh, I need to get married now. Oh, I'm done. And I kept, maybe I've not fully understood why, but I think that a lot of it was connected to the family pressure, the society's pressure. In fact, even while we were in school, it was a thing of joy if a woman gets married while she's in school, right? It was a thing of joy. And I was like, you're young, you have like your years ahead of you, right? So now I can just imagine the fear that it puts, that family can put into, the
Mm-hmm.
life of a woman per se. And she might now end up settling, right? Or even choosing the wrong way because I have to get this done. So let me just pick the available option. Anybody that is coming, around me, and possibly they have money or they meet some certain types of criteria. You've not even really understood whether this is truly what you want, what you truly want for yourself. You're just like, if maybe he has money, he has a good place, he has cars, I'm just gonna go with him because I feel like the pressure is too much and I have to settle down. So I think it leads people to making decisions that they might at the end of the day regret. And I would say this, right? I think that now, I've had two instances of some of those my classmates that did marry in the university, right? I've had two instances, and the marriage didn't just end well. In fact, when they even gave birth to their first kid, some of them left the marriage with the kids. And to be honest, when I look back, I'm like, I wish she had just stayed single and figured out her life and knew what.
Fantastic.
I think it does a lot of damage, to be honest. It,
Yeah.
it does.
Okay, Chente, but you're saying now that you didn't think that you should be pressurized or you didn't feel any sort of fear. But the thing is, what is normal? Because I would say that the fear becomes normal in the sense that they won't even know is some sort of fear. It might just be,
Mm-hmm.
this is how it's supposed to be at some point. I think over time, then they might think that, oh, I was pressured. The way these things could be. It could be in the church, it could be religious
Mm-hmm.
reasons, it could be family orientation, it could be just so much so like what's happened, what everyone is doing. So how do you know that what you are like now, the relationship you just told me about, that you're so excited to get in? Are you sure you're not
Mm-hmm.
doing it out of fear or pressure? Because you might
So
not
now,
know,
right?
but have you thought about
How I
it?
know that how I know that there is no fear or pressure is that this was totally my decision,
Mm.
right? Is that when I think about it, and believe me, I mean, in all of this, we've come on this list and I've been shouting, I'm single, oh,
Yeah,
do you understand? And I'm like, I don't want anything. Franca has even said that she's going to matchmake me, and I'm like,
yeah.
want yourself. Do you get that kind of thing, right? So this was totally a decision that I said, I think I'm ready. Not
But
because of the pressure of you have to, you're a man, you're already getting old, you should be doing this, you should have a child by now. This is that I think I'm truly, truly ready and I want to put myself out there. So this
okay,
was solely my decision. When I think about it, when I analyze it, it was solely my decision. But I think, right, how you know that there is pressure is when you think about it and you are like, oh my God, like what my parents are saying, what society will say. I don't care about what society is gonna say. I don't care about what my parents are gonna say. I can remain single for all I want and even not marry. I don't care, right? But when I say I want to do this, I should be saying that I want to do this because I truly want to do it. I've thought about it and I think that it sits well with me, not because of what other people will feel when I do it, but because of this is the decision I've made in my heart and I feel right doing it.
perfect. We'll come back to that. You spoke about trauma and how, all of this the child upbringing could be one of the reasons why people make decisions towards their partners. But we'll come back on that. Let's go on a break now. Okay? Let's go on a quick break.
Tuned. Heartlines would be right back.
This season on Heartlines, we're committed to making a difference in people's lives. So Heartlines, in partnership with Reda Consult, is offering 12 free slots of counseling every quarter for people in need of professional counseling. Additionally, we're taking on 2 pro bono cases for individuals navigating a challenging divorce. To participate, please send an email to counsel@vedaconsult.com with your story. Our team will carefully review all submissions and will contact all the shortlisted candidates. Heartlines is live Mondays to Fridays at 10 p.m. So engage with us.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Thanks for staying with us on Heartlines.
Glad to have you back on Heartlines. We're still discussing the role of peer pressure in choosing the wrong partner. And with me, I have Shay Ilesami. Shay.
Hi, everyone.
Shay, so good to see you.
Yeah, so good to be back. It's been a long break.
It's been a really long time.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's
have
like
you
2
been?
months or so.
I know.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Good, not bad.
Yeah. How was your weekend? How did you celebrate Salah?
I think I was home throughout, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was home throughout.
Okay.
I've been home throughout for a bit.
I can imagine.
You know the full story now.
So before you came in, me and Chente and I were discussing, the role of fear, pressure, and choosing the wrong partner. And we had delved into, especially he delved into trauma, how the family, your childhood, your upbringing could be one of the reasons why people are pressured into marrying people. And then they later find out that, these are the wrong decisions that they made. And I was asking Chente, he's not in a relationship. How does he know that this is not, the wrong relationship? I just want to also ask you that question before I go back to him, on the trauma ideology. So, Shay, do you think you were pressured into getting married? Or do you think that you were ever in any marriage or relationship that it was out of fear of maybe societal, peer pressure or whatever, and maybe you were about to make a decision that, you could have regretted?
Okay, so first off, I like to let people know that any relationship takes time. For me, I don't usually use myself as a yardstick because before I got married, I dated my wife for 6 years. And even after the 6 years, I was still not ready to get married, so I was still doing a lot of calculations. The finances okay, this okay. And fun fact, before I engaged, it was like an hijack. It wasn't pressure because obviously 6 years, I already knew this was the girl I was going to marry. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to take up that responsibility of marriage. And I feel like for every man, there has to be a little push. Because I don't feel like as a man we are fully ready for marriage, right? I don't know about women, but for a man, there's still something that's calculating like, guy, have you made enough money? Are you financially stable? Are you ready for it? So I feel like every woman has like a small role to play in terms of nudging the guy and saying, guy, are you ready for this? Can we move on from normal relationship into this level. And I also say to people like, you should never be pressured into marriage.
Okay.
Because if you go into relationship marriage from an aspect of pressure, it closes your eyes to a lot of faults and a lot of things that you would have seen if you were not pressured. And it's better off being by yourself than being, let me use the biblical word of unequally yoked with somebody you should not have been engaged or been in a relationship or been married to. Because the problem you think you have by being by yourself either doubles or triples or quadruples when you get into a relationship with somebody you should never have been with.
Okay.
And I was having a discussion with somebody recently, and I said, okay, you are single. What is the pressure you are facing? You are lonely. Your parents are saying you are ripe enough for marriage. The society is saying you are this age, you are not married. I said, let me give you an example. As a lady, right, you are single, you have your own job, you are enjoying your life. The only thing that you have is you're not married, right? You get pressured, or you feel like peer pressure, everybody's marrying, all your guys are marrying, all your friends are marrying. And I'm talking from real life experiences of friends. You get into a relationship, you get into a marriage. 1 year, 2 years down the line, you have a child. 3 years down the line, you have another child. Then the dust settles, and you realize that, shoot, this guy or this lady I married is the wrong person. Now, for some reasons, the person is a deadbeat who doesn't care, who's all out there, who is not on the same wavelength as you are. What has happened is you've taken his problem, you've taken 2 kids who should not have been in that equation. You brought them. Before, your problem was just yourself, right? It's just me. I'm just lonely. Sometimes I live for something.
Let me come in there a little bit. I believe that people really don't know what a wrong decision is.
Yes.
Because, they might tell you that to some degree, to some extent, you can pick somebody, but you might never really know if this is the wrong person. Because I would say that most people don't even know that they're being pressured. And most people even believe that their fears are normal. Because it could stem from different reasons why they think that, okay, I should be. It might be some sort of framing, nurturing in their brain. Maybe as they grew older, they just thought that it's supposed to be like this. So I think then when they then grow up over time, then they realize and they become self-aware. Then they realize that, oh, I made a mistake. I don't know. It's just what I wanted to say to Chente. I was trying to talk about the trauma aspect where people make these wrong choices and they go through fear and pressure, and still they don't even know that is what it is at that point in time.
Exactly,
So I wanted Chente to touch on that trauma, because trauma could be that, because some people actually marry their abusers. They want to marry someone that looks like their mother.
So
like their father.
I wanted to share a story, right? This is a personal one because, right, a lady came into, and then it's very, very close to my heart. A lady came into therapy, right? And then she was being abused, right? And it was at the limit, like they've dealt with her so much. It was at the limit that it was even a friend of hers that kind of pulled her, paid for the first session. It was like, Chinte, please, this lady really needs help, right? She would not normally talk to you, but because I had pleaded with her, and so she's gonna talk to you. And so in the course of our sessions, right, this lady had gone through hell in that marriage. And then guess what, right? This lady was pressured. Obviously, what I was saying about you leaving school and then the next thing is for you to go into marriage and all that. But here is the thing, right? This lady's mother was abused in her marriage. So she had come from a family of abuse, right? And so her mother was beaten. In fact, like it had gotten to the point where she said that when she was in primary school then, right, when her mother would take her to school, like as young as she was then, and her mother would come with a black eye and come and drop her in school, the teachers would know that obviously like is the man because everybody knew the man as a drunk, as somebody that beats, in fact, he has even fought with some of the teachers in that school, right? And so they would now ask her, what happened to your mom? And when she finally says, oh, my mommy, like my dad beat my mom, finally, the teachers would like when the mom comes to pick her from school, and the teachers will try to, I heard that you're being abused. Can you not leave this man? When the mother takes her home, she will beat her for telling the teachers what actually happened. So it even got to a point where, when the teachers asked you what happened to your mom, she's like, nothing, that my mom fell down from the stairs and all of that. Now, in all of this, she watched her mother being abused, but her mother stayed. Now, guess what? When this lady entered into marriage, the same thing was happening to her in that marriage. But because of conditioning, she had seen her mother being abused, but her mother stayed. She was like that she had seen love, or she had perceived love to be that if a man loves you, he will beat you. That is how he should show love to you. That is how he should correct you, right? That if a man actually loves you, he would beat you. That is one, right? So she had thought that her husband beating her is a sign of love. Also, she had also seen her mother stay in an abusive relationship. And so that reinforced that even if a man beats me, I'm going to die here.
Wow.
Imagine having that mindset and coming for therapy.
Yeah.
Trauma is a bastard, to be honest. Trauma dealt with that lady.
Chente, I totally agree with you. Like, I have heard so many stories of people, seeing relationship, marriage as something other than the ideal. I know there's nothing as an ideal relationship because we all, like as we say, it's between two people. But Shay, can you tell the viewers who is a wrong partner? If you just give them some sense of, I know that we're conditioned, I know we believe people are, we look at them differently, but if you could just say who's a wrong partner, if you say someone is a wrong partner.
I'm not sure there's a standard for a wrong partner because, like we've said severally on the show, people change. Do you understand? So, the person that was perfect for you...
I can't hear you, actually.
Oh, sorry, Chente. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. It's better now.
So, like I was saying, I said we've mentioned severally on the show, like, the most constant thing in life is change, right? And I don't feel like...
So, let me just help you. So, you're saying there's nothing like an ideal wrong. So, if someone is beating you, are you going to wait for him to change? Or you wait till
what I meant by that is when you sometimes the writings are on the wall and sometimes they are not. Sometimes the person that was perfect when you guys were dating suddenly becomes an abusive guy.
Yeah.
At the time that you started dating or that you were in a relationship, he was perfect. He was not the wrong guy at that time. Now, going forward, years down the line, he became the wrong guy. Once he becomes the wrong guy and you can't get to a midpoint, my friend, there's nothing you guys are doing. I don't believe relationship or marriage is a do or die affair, So that's what I meant by, is there really like a standard? Yes, sometimes you meet the people, you meet the person, and obviously you are seeing signs of this guy or this girl has traces of these things. And for most people, you are blinded by love. You're blinded by the feelings you have at that time that you don't really pick on it. And usually when you're dating, it's the sweet part of the relationship. So you might not even see it.
Yeah.
Which is why I usually, suggest to people generally, spend as much time. And now you can spend as much time I still
get
not
it wrong.
See exactly.
Okay, so what I always tell people, especially...
It just reduces the risk.
Okay.
of it. So let's say, for example, you're 100%, right, risk by not taking advantage of or by not spending time. Spending time, noticing the little things, reduces the risk by 50%. But it doesn't automatically guarantee the fact that if you still enter, it could still, it could still go the wrong way. Some people have not made the money to enable all their bad.
So do you think they have to make money to enable bad
Sometimes
character?
money pushes you to pick up things that you wouldn't normally have picked up because you didn't have the money to finance those things. And it's until you get to that level before you even know, how bad or how wrong the choices that you've made.
So you're saying either a decline in financial gains or increase?
Increase. It can be both ways.
Okay.
It can turn a formerly good person to a completely different person.
I see.
So...
what about desire? What if it's not about money? What about if it's desire? Maybe they want something differently now that you cannot give them.
Changes. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I said. We all change. Even the money is a change.
Yeah,
the fact that you now have money is part of the change. You now
don't have as much.
Exactly. It's still a change.
I always tell people that, when you're choosing a partner, don't always look at it from the point of pleasure. Always look at it from the point of purpose. Because I think that pleasure will always, it's fickle. At some point, it's not as strong as a foundation for a marriage, because pleasure could be the fact that maybe you're handsome, you look good, or maybe you're fantastic in bed, or the woman has an amazing figure, or she has money, or they have, you know what I mean? These are all the things, these are all the perks that come with it. If you marry someone on the basis of just the perks, it won't last. And most of the time that person becomes the wrong partner. But if you marry someone who is purpose aligned, where what are we doing? Where are we going? What are our goals? What are we planning on, achieving? Purpose. What do you want to do? What do I want to do? Or how am I going to support you? How, because I believe that it's not all about compatibility. It's not about compatibility, because you guys can be compatible, but you're not going to the same direction, So I would say something aside from, this, because I would say that I didn't know this before. As I became self-aware, I started to learn all of this. I would have said, oh yeah, if he loves you, why not? Ride on. But I saw that there's a lot of flaws. But still, are you telling me that fear and pressure are the leading factor to getting a wrong partner?
It's actually a big deal. Because of our society, really. And I'll tell you, the biggest fear for most people is the fact that they don't want to be alone.
Yeah. Human
beings we are emotional beings in terms of we always want
company.
No matter how independent somebody is.
Yeah.
At the core of it, right? Like I was reading something or I was going through something, and the biggest regret for dying people is the fact that I didn't play on this relationship, or I messed up this relationship with people that would have been close to me, or I did this. That's the biggest regret for people on their deathbed. It's not even the money, is not I should have done it, is the inbuilt feeling of I should have
relationship I lost.
Yes.
That were good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Either with your family, with your kids, or with your spouse. Those are the biggest regrets that were. So in the core of every human, the biggest fear is I don't want to die alone.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to old age and just be alone.
But why? Why is that a big fear? Like, why? What is wrong with that? Okay, wait, Chente, please let me come to you. because I want to say that sometimes, out of fear and even pressure, some people actually meet the right partner. They do, because, decisions could be made from different angles in life. You could make a decision out of fear and still make the right decision. You can make a decision out of some sort of pressure and you still make the same decision. I know that a lot of people who have, out of maybe bad relationship, pressure, fear, and they have risen up to where they never even saw themselves. They are wealthy, they have their goals and all of that. But so I'm saying, Chente, does fear and pressure always lead to the wrong relationship, or there are other factors that are also
So,
there, but we're not looking at them?
yes, so I would say, right, it doesn't just have to be fear and pressure, right? There is trauma, there is background,
Yeah.
and other things, right? There are other things, right? And as you said, fear and pressure doesn't always, like, it doesn't mean that when somebody is fear or is afraid of something or is pressured into doing into doing that thing, that they would necessarily make the wrong decision. But I feel like in that moment, right, even if you're afraid and you're pressured, if you're in the right environment with the right people, and possibly if it's divinely timed in one way or the other, you can make the right decision. But in most cases, if you're under pressure, there is a high likelihood of you making the wrong decision.
Okay.
But sometimes, if you're around the right people that could guide you, right, or that could mentor you through that process, then you have a higher chance of actually making the right decision. But sometimes, right, if you're just on your own and you're pressured, there is a high likelihood of you making the wrong decisions, to be honest. So environment would matter, timing, people would also matter, right? In you making the right decision if you're fearful and if you're under pressure. So yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let's look at now the wrong partner. Okay, and then making. How do we then? How do we? So what is? I want to know. We've been talking about the wrong partner since. So who is the right partner? Why I'm asking this is because, most of the time, yeah, I think the way we see love, because if there was no pressure and there was no fear, how are we going to see love? Do you think that these things have actually shaped the way we align ourselves to people to be married? Because, you see, making choices in life, yeah, we might not know the underlying things in us that's making us make those things.
Choices. Very true.
And you think, just like Chente said to me, he has met the woman of his life. In 6 months now, I can ask Chente and he will tell me, no. He could say,
Wait,
no, wash my
Jess,
hands
calm
away.
down. Jess, wait. So I did not say I'm dating. I said I went on a date. I did not say I'm already in a
No, but
relationship.
Chete, the way you said that, that you've been waited for so long for you to wait for this
I'm
one,
excited.
and then this is the one. This has to be.
I
You're excited.
feel excited.
So I'm
He looks
asking
like
you.
a finished man.
Yes, you look like a
Okay,
finished
so-
man.
So-
Do you think that pressure is not shaping the way we see love? Do you think that this whole love ideology that we have, are you sure that pressure and fear, might have been some sort of a root cause to picking partners? Because who told you that you're in love with this person and you want to marry her? Do you know if the fear of being alone, like you just rightly said, maybe started like a year ago and you didn't even know that it's now taking place, now that you're making the decision a year after?
So,
Yeah, because let's come think about it. The way we see love.
so it also brings me back to there are two divides to the way we see love.
Yeah.
When I started dating my wife, it was quite early, so it was still that sensation of something. Saw this girl and you're like, oh man, and for that I feel having discovered love or having gone through that early discovery of, oh, I like this person, I like the way this person makes me feel, helped in a way, because it was
Young.
it was
Okay.
unadulterated, it was not logical
Okay.
at that time,
Okay.
right? If I was discovering love at this stage of my life, I would probably be a lot more conditioned and a lot more logical about that kind of decision,
Okay.
because it will be more like, okay,
This for this.
I don't
Well,
already marry.
Yeah.
Let's just look for the right girl. Let's just look for who is not going to be a burden. Let's just look for, even if I marry, even if anything goes wrong, this person, there's going to be a lot of more thoughts,
Towards
a lot
it
of more, calculation
yeah.
than the actual feeling of
emotional,
oh my God,
satisfaction.
oh yeah, exactly.
The butterflies in your tummy.
Kind of thing.
So are you saying that the younger people decide it's more genuine?
It's more genuine.
Are you sure?
I believe so. I don't know about the way it is now in the dating thing because I see a lot of.
I don't
Chinty,
think so.
what do you think?
A lot of.
I don't think so. In
You
fact,
don't think so? Tell us why.
Yeah,
Why don't you think so?
Because I think that most of the times, the older that you get, the more self-aware you are.
That's another
The
point.
more, eh?
Yeah, that's another point. That's another
Yeah.
point of view.
So the more self-aware you are, the more conviction you have of what you want, right? But I think that it is now quite harder to choose when you are older because you cannot tolerate, especially somebody that maybe is also doing the work on themselves. Is that, as a young person, you can easily take anything because you're not
let it go.
experienced. You can just fall for anything and go with anything. But I think as you get older, the more your spec is tightening, right? You begin to shaping it like, no, I would not tolerate this, right? I'm too old for this, right? I will not tolerate somebody that doesn't respect my boundary. I think the more older, the more self-aware, the more stricter you get in
And
your
the more fear.
love life per se.
The more
Do you
fair.
understand? Yeah.
The more fear you have in you
What I
about
feel.
Making the wrong choice.
making the wrong choices.
Okay, so it's both ways now.
It's both ways because when I was younger, who cares about
So it
making
could
the
be
wrong
that.
choice?
So it could be that when you're younger, even if you feel it's genuine, but it's more careless.
It's more careless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not saying that being genuine in choosing could be from a point of ignorance most of the time, being careless. You're not now thinking holistically about the partnership,
yes,
about
you're
purpose.
about it then.
And don't you think?
Then when you're younger, like you have that audacity to like take risk.
Yes.
But when you're old, there's like time conscious that I'm getting old. I cannot play with my future. So if I want to do it right. I want to make the decision
you
and
don't have
know
as
that
much
it's
fear.
right.
But
So
don't you
there's
think that?
fear.
But don't you think that situation would lead to a lot of bad marriages or wrong partners? Because I hear a lot of people saying that I married young. They always use that as one of the reasons why the marriage didn't work.
They made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna say that also.
So for me, I think, like I said, irrespective of the love or the butterfly feelings, another very important thing is growth. Together.
Yeah.
If you're growing and your partner is not equally growing. And growth is not just by material things, by psychological growth, emotional growth.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you started dating at your 20s, you don't expect that butterfly feelings to carry you all the way through your marriage.
At some point, the feelings will go. Yeah.
So if you grow to a level and the person you're in a relationship with doesn't grow according to the way you want them to grow, at some point it becomes a wrong partnership.
Yes.
It becomes a weight that you're dragging with you.
Yes.
And at some point there will be a collapse.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So even though you are that young, you are going through the thing, growth, equal growth, moving at the same pace.
Very important.
Is very, very important
because I think that one will feel left behind and then resentment starts coming.
Yes.
And once resentment comes in a relationship, in a marriage, then you start seeing, them thinking that, oh, you're leaving me behind.
And do you know this stuff you talked about where most times they said, I married young?
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's growth.
It's growth, yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of situations where the man says, no, be this small girl where I marry, she did university that time. So, in his head, right?
He's looking at her like a small girl.
He's not expecting her to grow.
Yeah.
He's not he has not mentally accepted the growth that the young girl I married is now become a woman.
Yeah.
Is now making decisions, has given birth, is raising future leaders. Do you understand? She cannot think for herself.
Or maybe
She
even
now
talk
has,
back at me.
yeah, she now has
So
what
I
she
have
wants. And the man is thinking, this girl want to talk back to me. She's now, she's going with bad company.
Yeah, I know. Chente, you're going to add
So I have an
something.
experience. So I have an experience of a couple that came to meet me. First of all, it was the man that had reached out, and then he was like that my wife used to, when we started, in the early years of our marriage, right? My wife was okay with me cheating. She didn't
Oh,
have a
wow.
problem with actually, right? But now she now sees it as a problem. She has even threatened to leave me because of, I'm still cheating, right? And so when we now came, when they finally came for couples therapy, right? And when I was hearing from her side, she was like, when she married young, she was of the opinion that you cannot truly satisfy a man. Like men's nature, that a man is polygamous. That stuff that they say, a man is polygamous in nature, that you cannot truly satisfy him. If you want to keep your home, you should just leave him, let him do what, as far as he's providing for the family. Now she was young when she married. She didn't know so much. So 5 to 7 years down the line, she's at the point where she's like, I'm gonna leave you if you keep cheating. He now came and was like, why? Like, why? I want to know because I mean, like, we've been for 5 years, right? I've been expressing myself outside. I've been doing what I want to do, and you had no problem with it. What happened, right? And so it now led to this self-awareness thing, right? Of how she understand that no, a man is not polygamous. A man should have self-control.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a man is we can say human beings are polygamous because a woman too can cheat.
Yes.
Why can't a woman cheat? Do you understand? For her, she does not want to cheat, right? And she's telling you that you should learn to, because I can't do this. Again, you are bringing a lot of things. She was not telling me that, that she has had a lot of STDs contracted from this same man. Do you understand? So it was very painful, and it got to the point where she was like, if you cannot control yourself, then I'm done. And he had a problem with that, and
What a story. But I know that a lot of women are going through this in their relationships just so that they can keep the marriage together.
Yes.
So Chente, do you have anything you could tell the audience, when it comes to how can they help themselves, like how can they protect themselves from, I know it's really hard to say, oh, you can be oblivious from the fact that, this fear is not what is the fabric of our society. Because you might not even know that you're picking partners due to pressure, due to fear. But is there any signs you could help the audience with? Maybe they can see that, oh, maybe I'm pressuring myself. Maybe I need to slow down. Because, I'm of the opinion that desperation smells a mile away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, the fear of being alone is one of the reasons why we jump on, relationships that are not even good for us. So is there any... Are there signs, you could tell?
So yes, right. Number one thing that I'll always do, I'll always encourage my clients to do is, first of all, at any point where you want to make a delicate decision, pause and reflect.
Chinte, can you speak a bit louder, please?
Okay, I said at any point where you want to make a decision or go into like a life decision that that would thoroughly like change your life, or is like a next phase, pause and reflect. Learn to pause and reflect, right? And I do these things where I'm like, if I tell my clients in therapy, and that is why therapy is important. It's important for everybody to go for therapy. And I do these things where I ask them, if your parents are not in the picture, if your friends are not in the picture, would you still want to make this decision?
Nice. That's a good one.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right? I tell them, pause and reflect on things. Ask yourself, do you really want to make this decision? Or why are you truly making this decision? Is it to please other people, right? If a lot of people start pausing to reflect on the decision that they are about to make, they would know. At least, see, it's better to know that you are making this decision for other people. It's better to be aware of that so that you know that when the consequences come, you take it by yourself. But it's more painful when you make it for other people and you don't even know that you truly made it for other people, right? So I think that always pause and reflect. Ask yourself, if all of these people or all of these voices that I'm hearing, if they're not in the picture, do I really, really want to make decision? If you can answer that question truthfully, then I think you have your answer, whether you are under any fear or pressure.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you for that. Of course, you know, with our society as well, a lot of women go into marriages because of financial needs.
Yeah,
and they don't even know they're doing this. So they just say, I love him. But to be honest, if they can reflect, pause and reflect for a minute, breathe in and breathe out, they will know that, okay, I'm just here for the money. And if you're aware and you know this...
And then, you know, for the ladies, right, one of the tags that I also give them, right, is that if you start working now and you're making 1 million naira a month, would you want to settle down?
Yes.
And the answers are like,
no.
Do you understand? Like, no. And from there, you have your answer. And the next thing is, look for a job. You don't need a man, you need a job.
Yeah.
You need a job.
And again, so I would also say that you need to be happy enough to say no to the wrong decisions. Because I know that having a partner is an amazing thing. It makes us happy, but you still have to find some sort of happiness within yourself where you can then say, this is not for me, this is not for me. And if any of these decisions, you know, is taking away your happiness, your joy, your peace, that's another way to actually, you know that this is not the right decision. So you can actually reflect and think about it over and over again. And I know, Shay, do you have anything to add?
Yes, so in addition to everything you guys have said, another thing I like to tell people is to project into the future. Just like Chinte said.
Yeah,
like,
if you was making 1 million, will you marry this person?
We used to marry this person. Also, it was something I used to do when I was much younger.
Shay, please, I can't hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that it was something I used to do when I was much younger, which is projecting into the future and seeing, just take a look, sit back and take a look into your next 5 years, your next 3 years, and think about it and say, in 5 years' time, this guy that I'm looking at, okay, let's say he used to pinch me now. If that pinching goes further,
will it be a problem?
Will it be a problem?
Yeah.
Will I still be able to stand this guy? Okay, he has 1 million now. If tomorrow he has only 200K, will this guy... will I want to be there? Yeah, will he irritate me?
Yeah.
Will he, you know, if you think about it like that, go forward, come back. Go forward, come back. I think a lot more decisions will be easier to make.
Yes. And people would...
And people would be like, no.
And people at some point, there'll be some sort of percentage of making the wrong choices,
yes,
picking the wrong partners.
At least you reduce it, because I don't think you can 100% guarantee that
of course
all the decisions you make in this life
will be the right one.
Which is where God
at least
comes
if
into
you,
play.
Of course, at least if you look at it from this point, like all of these parts that we have, you know, spoken about, and you make a better decision. Yeah, you will. So we're coming to, we're almost, the show is almost over, you know. Is there anything you'd like to add, Chente? Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
So, nothing really. I just want to reflect on what I've said, right? I think that most of the times we rush into things, and that is why I think it's important that we always pause and reflect. That every time we want to make a very, very life-changing decision, it's important to pause and reflect. And if you feel like maybe it's overwhelming and you cannot do it by yourself, then see a therapist. They could help you through that journey. So, yeah.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Shay, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think I'm exhausted.
You're good? Lovely. I had an amazing conversation with you both. Thank you so much for coming. We had a nice time. So I was just saying, yeah, you did? Guys, this is my first time.
Ooh, let's clap.
This is my first
You've
time
done very
anchoring
well.
a show, so
Yeah.
so the fear we're talking about. There's a lot of fear and pressure right now
Exactly.
on
You did
this chair.
amazing, Seth. You did amazing.
I could look you see it, but you did well.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear and pressure. So before we go, I would say that the faster you can identify what is not good for you, the quicker you will definitely find your partner and the right person. So make sure that when you're getting into relationships, try to pause, like Pichente had said, breathe in and reflect, and make sure that these things are the things that in the future, like Shay had also mentioned, you can then say, I want to be here. So as we round up the show, please note, you don't have to bear your burdens alone. Our free counseling services are just a message away. Send your email to counsel@vedaconsult.com. Let's help you deal and heal. See you next week. Bye.